it is time for the fifth panel discussion titled The Future of Clean Energy. It will be moderated by Dr. Nicholas Calvin, the founder and chair of the Mazda Institute Solar Platform. The participating delegates will be starting with Dr. Corrado Somariva, the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Sustainable Water and Power Consultants, SWPC. Mr. Alan Nelson, the Chief Technology Officer of ADNOC, and Mr. Karl Feilder, the founder and chairman of the Neutral Group, Neutral Fuel and Neutral Assets. Please welcome them.
Good morning. The future is going to require us to make some dramatic changes to the way we produce and consume electrical power. Climate change is happening, whether you like it or not, and switching to cleaner source of energy is the main way we will be able to keep it from getting worse. This panel will discuss the future of clean energy and how we all can contribute. My name is Dr. Nicolas Calvé. I'm assistant professor at Khalifa University, and I'm chairing the Mazda Institute Solar Platform, which is the first solar platform dedicated to concentrated solar power and thermal energy storage in the UAE, hence my interest for clean energy. So I'm really pleased to moderate this panel discussion, but let's introduce the panelists immediately. So on the left, Dr. Corrado Somariva is the CEO and founder of Sustainable Water and Power Consultants, SWPC. In the middle, Alan Nelson, Chief Technology Officer at ADNOC. And on the right, Karl Feilder, founder and chairman of the Neutral Group, Neutral Fuel and Neutral Assets. So my first question will be addressed to Dr. Corrado. So why did you start your own consultancy company, and what services does SWPC provide in the clean energy sector?
Thank you very much. I started my consultancy company. I heard today a lot of talks about dreams and what is your future visions, and I came to 57 years and I say I couldn't see my next 10 years in corporate world, living in corporate management. I come from a technical background. I like technical work. That has been my life. So I wanted to go back to roots and do technical work. And I see here a potential for discussions here, because consultancy work is changing drastically. Is no longer the work of technology or companies that are based in Europe, coming back here in the Middle East, sending people and selling hours. It's more about selling expertise, selling know-how, selling solutions to clients, and benchmarking from that. So I thought that could be a good opportunity for me to start doing this activity, which is turning quite well. And in particular, we're working now on energy efficiency, particularly in desalination and wastewater, and renewable energy and sustainability, of course, which is the main mission of the company.
Thank you, Dr. Corrado. So a question for Alan. What is ADNOC Clean Energy Strategy?
Thank you very much for the question. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here today. Sustainability and clean energy for ADNOC has been part of our DNA since we were founded, and it's a concept and a philosophy that the founding father instilled within ADNOC, and it's something that we still embody and live today. A couple of weeks ago, we announced our 2030 sustainability strategy, and with that strategy, we talked about things like reducing our CO2 footprint. And specifically reducing our CO2 intensity by 25%. We talked about expanding our CCUS by 500%, reducing our fresh water consumption to 0.5%. But equally and importantly, sustainability and renewable and this whole concept of being responsible goes well beyond just simply the emissions and the climate metrics, which are obviously very, very important to us all, but we also take a very focused view towards the local economy and biodiversity. And along that, we set very aggressive diversity targets, workforce diversity targets, and we set local targets, for example, to plant 10 million mangroves over that same period of time. So when we talk about renewables, we talk about sustainability, it is part of how we do business. And we're very proud to launch our 2030 sustainability strategy that really emboldens all of those key concepts that, again, the Founding Father really instilled upon ADNOC.
Thank you, Alain. So, Karl, what services and value does the Neutral Group provide in clean energy?
So thank you. And in your introduction, you said that the future of energy is changing. I moved here 10 years ago to the fossil fuel capital of the world to introduce biofuels, and most people thought I was completely mad. Today, we're the largest biofuels producer in the whole of the Middle East region. We're operating out of 3 cities. This year, we'll start in another 3 cities. And the big difference that we see, and it's the same for many different renewable technologies, is the source of the energy that we need is local. We need local facilities to convert it into means that we can use, and the usage of that fuel is going to be local. So we have a situation where our raw materials are actually here in the cities, locally. We can build factories in the cities, and we can consume the fuel in the cities. We don't need to move things all the way around the world anymore. And that is the considerable change that is going on. It's not going to happen overnight, and that transition needs to be in a very well managed way. But that's what we bring to the party. Is for the last 4 years we've been selling a net zero fuel. Our company is already net zero, and our customers can be net zero in their fuel consumption by using our fuel.
Very interesting. So, Dr. Karl, as a consultant, you are giving advice. So, what recommendation do you have for government entities and industry to further stimulate clean energy?
Well, I heard today a very interesting presentation, which was from Professor Nostas, and he mentioned speed. And government should consider that technology is changing fast, at a pace that is unprecedented. If you see, for instance, desalination, which is basically the main core of expertise, been standstill for 40 years, from 1960 till 2000. Some awakenings in early 2000, 2010. Then what happens is, after 2015, is a total revolution. And if you don't consider the speed in technological changes, you end up with assets that are obsolete. And this was an unfortunate case, for instance, in many billion-dollar investments that have been done here in the GCC for desalination or power technology that became obsolete at the time of commissioning because the energy running, the energy costs were basically extremely high. But we have also good example of good governance. And for instance, a good one was Saudi Water Partnership Company. I had the privilege of advising the CEO, His Excellency Dr. Qureshi, of Saudi Water Partnership Company. And he really bullied the industry. He set a minimum benchmark for efficiency in desalination plants of 3.5 kilowatt per meter cube. And then obviously all the industry came back and said, no, this is not possible because the benchmark was 5. And there he came his courage because he said, no, we stick to 3.5. He got 4 bids at record low tariff. He lost 2 bidders, and all the 4 bids were compliant with the specific energy consumption 3.4. Today, the state of the art for desalination technology is 3.1 kilowatt per meter cube. What is the message of that? Is to the government, a real aspect of good governance is set the benchmark right. Industry will follow. There is enough brain, there is enough innovations and creativity in the industry to get the benchmark if you set it right. If the benchmark are not set it right, and setting it right means thinking of what is going to happen to the assets not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow, in 10 years time, where the energy cost is going to be much, much higher, where you have environmental constraints which are acceptable today, but will not be acceptable in 10 years' time. And then, or based on that, set up the policy for your plans and for your master planning. And this has been done positively, and I could see the industry has been followed through beautifully. And I believe that this is going to continue and continue, leaving a lower tariff and lower energy efficiency as well.
Thank you, Dr. Corrado. Alain, as the world energy demand keeps growing, how can ADNOC contribute to achieve a more sustainable future?
So one thing that we all know for sure is that energy demand will increase. We believe it could increase by as much as 20 or 25%. And so we all collectively, as society, not just ADNOC, but we as society have a responsibility to sustainably develop technology that will enable clean and renewable energies, right? The important aspect, though, is if there was a magic solution today, we would have it. And so what that means is that we need to recognize that there is a very, say, in some sense pragmatic, if not logical, type of runway or path to get from where we're at today to a point where we have either complete renewables or to the stage where we have a much lower environmental footprint, right, worldwide in these things. And so technology cuts across all of those different areas. And when you look at ADNOC, what we're doing, when we view that, say, life cycle from end to end, we are focusing on efficiency of operations today. Because anytime there's inefficiency in an operation, or anytime we're flaring methane, or anytime we are producing CO2, that means we are inefficient at something. And in fact, that's bad for business. And it's bad for the environment. It's bad for the climate. So we focus a lot of time and effort to understand how we can reduce those events. And in fact, today we have one of the lowest flaring rates of any company worldwide. And we have one of the lowest CO2 intensities per barrel produced, per barrel equivalent produced. And that is through very much a focused effort and investment to be sustainable and to have high degrees of energy efficiency across all of our operations. But it doesn't stop there for us. We are looking at technologies for the future, technologies that will continue us on that efficiency journey. So technologies such as advanced automation and control, or autonomous systems, robotics, advanced drones and systems that can do remote leak detection from meters, if not thousands of meters away. So we can understand, again, where those inefficiencies occur, and we can continue to produce sustainably and with the greatest emphasis and focus on energy efficiency across all of our assets. And of course, and just to conclude the comment, we are looking to the future. We are looking to see, where is the energy mix going, both from a transportation and a power generation standpoint, and understand how ADNOC can continually and sustainably provide energy solutions for the world well into the future.
Thank you, Alan. So, Karl, you commissioned the UAE first clean tech biofuel refinery in Dubai in 2011. Tell us more about it and its impact as of today.
Thank you. It's been pretty successful. I think since we hit break even, we achieved 1,000% growth, which is fairly reasonable. And still today, we're only doing about 1/4% of Dubai's diesel. So there's still plenty of space for us to grow. We also decided that we would found our own research center. So we have an all-female, all-Arabic chemical engineering team. So coming back to one of the previous panels that was saying that there are a lot of extremely talented ladies here, there certainly are, and many of them work for us. And they've been able to come up with some true pioneering technology. Later on this year, we'll file patents on it. And that technology we're now exporting into other countries. So we've set up last year in India, and we're now showing them how to use some of the technologies that have been born here into that huge market. We're showing that the UAE is a great center for innovation into the future of fuel. We're showing that we've got the creativity, we've got the drive, and we've got the financial capability to take this solution out to the rest of the world. And that's what we've been pioneering. We've been pioneering both chemical engineering, we've been pioneering a business model that's totally different, and we've been pioneering biofuels as a way to reduce the carbon footprint of the planet.
Congratulations on this achievement. Dr. Corrado, what are the investment trends in clean energy over the last few years?
I think that the region here is massively investing in PV, mega projects, almost adventurous. And this is clearly dictated by tariff. We have a PV tariff of 0.16 cents per kilowatt hour. It's basically a no-brainer to invest in this project. But this is one aspect. There is the aspect of waste to energy. There is the aspect of basically coupling and energy storage, which is very important because that energy is cheap, it's sustainable, but it's only for 8 hours a day. So it has to be integrated to the system in a way that is generating loads rather than absorbing loads. The aspect that I would like to see more is the energy efficiency, and basically that is going to be, according to the United Nations program, contributing 50% of our renewable energy target. And I believe that this aspect is still not really embedded into the culture here. There's a lot of activities that can be done on energy efficiency. I recently did a project in Dubai with an investment of $1 million, just changing the impellers of the pump, more than 2 megawatts in pumping cost per se. Break-even time was 3 months from the financial point of view, and without considering all the in-kind benefits of CO2 reduction. So there's a lot of assets here in this part of the world, particularly power assets, that have been built 30 years ago, where global warming was not an issue, where sustainability was not an issue. Nobody knew about, and obviously at the same time energy was relatively affordable and cheap. If we now reparameter and we look at these investments and these assets with the aim of upgrading, bringing them to close to state-of-the-art solution, then there is a lot that can be done in that respect.
I fully agree with you on energy efficiency. That's really important. Alan, how will technology impact the advancement of clean energy?
The advancement of clean energy is fundamentally underpinned by new and advancing technologies. And I think we would probably all agree with that. And I think we've got a number of key examples here, literally sitting on stage with us today. When you look to, what or how we want to define clean energy, there is this very much important piece around energy efficiency and trying to extract every possible amount of, whether it's mechanical energy or thermal energy, et cetera, out of every molecule that we produce. And that's hugely important. And that has a direct impact, of course, on reducing emissions upfront, because you're obviously not producing it, you don't need any secondary treatment, et cetera. And then as you look to the future, whether you're contemplating, say, the power sector or you're looking at the transportation sector, you have two different, say, technology avenues that you must consider. The first is new technologies, right? So these are things that don't exist today that may transform the way that we either produce or we consume energy. You go back to 1991, we didn't have lithium-ion batteries, for example, before that. 1991, first commercial lithium-ion battery, and here we sit decades later and the rest is history. That was a fundamental shift in how we store energy, and just use that as one example. You can also go back and look at fuel cells, for example. The fuel cells have been around for well over 200 years since the first experiment. These are systems that were put on the Apollo space capsule, and they've been commercially deployed. They exist today. However, in both of those instances and many others, there's something else then that's holding the technology development and deployment back, and that's scale economics. Because if you look at how much it costs to actually produce energy out of these systems, it's not on par with the incumbent systems. So in the transportation area, for example, it's not on par with internal combustion. On the power generation, it's not on par with combined heat and power or combined cycle, IGCC types of systems. And this is where we need continual investment, we need continual scale, and it's that typical scale down curve, if you will, where we can start to see the cost advantages. So fundamentally, we need advances in both areas. We need advances in new technologies, and we need advances in scale.
Thank you. I think that's a very nice conclusion. Thank you very much to the speakers. I think we can